Udoka was the kind of man that commanded attention wherever he went. Standing at an impressive height with broad shoulders and the build of a warrior, he had the presence of a king. His dark skin glowed like polished ebony under the sun, making his deep voice have a way of making people listen. Women admired him. They whispered about his charm, his strength, and the way his eyes seemed to see into a person's soul. Men respected him, envying his confidence and the silent authority he carried. But beneath this exterior, Udoka carried a burden so heavy that it threatened to break him. He was a man who had never truly known the embrace of a woman. Not because he didn't want to, and certainly not because women didn't want him. No, his problem was far more unusual. Every time he tried to be with a woman, every time passion brought him to the moment of intimacy, something could go terribly wrong. It was the same pattern, over and over again. The woman would be eager, aroused, and excited at first. But the moment he tried to enter her, pain would shoot through her body. Her excitement would turn into agony, and she would push him away, begging him to stop. Some women screamed. Some burst into tears. Others ran out of his house without even dressing properly. At first, Udoka thought it was just bad luck. But after countless failed attempts with different women, beautiful, experienced, and willing women, he realized something was terribly wrong. His manhood was simply too large, too thick, too overwhelming for any woman to handle. It wasn't just an inconvenience. It was a curse. Udoka was tormented by frustration and shame. While his friends boasted about their conquest and whispered about their wild nights with women, he remained silent, forced to carry the weight of a problem he could never share with anyone. He tried everything: herbalist, spiritualist, even secret rituals performed by village elders. But nothing changed. His manhood remained a force that no woman could take. And so, despite all his wealth, all his charm, all his strength, Udoka remained untouched. The title of this story is Bound by Fate, the Only Woman Meant for Him. A man cursed with a desire he could never fulfill. But all of that changed by the day he met Mmasinachi. Udoka had resigned himself to his fate. He told himself that he was not meant to experience what other men did, that perhaps his destiny was different. But deep inside, he still longed for the day he would meet a woman who could accept him completely. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky turned crimson, Udoka sat outside his hut, staring at nothing. His thoughts were heavy, his heart weary. That was when the old woman appeared. She was frail, bent with age, her back curved like the crescent moon. Her skin was wrinkled, and her eyes, though old, held an eerie sharpness. She walked with stick, her feet dragging slightly as she approached him. Udoka stood up, startled by her sudden presence. He had not seen her coming, and he did not recognize her. "Good evening, Mama," he greeted respectfully. The old woman gave a toothless smile. "Udoka, son of Obina. I have been waiting for this day." Udoka frowned. "You know my name?" "I know more than your name," she said, lowering herself onto a nearby stool. "I know your suffering. I know your shame." Udoka's heartbeat quickened. "What do you mean?" The old woman chuckled. "You think no one sees you, but the spirits see everything. The cries of the women who have run from your bed have reached the ears of the gods. You carry a gift that has turned into a curse. But it is not truly a curse, my son. It is a blessing if only you wait for the one who was made for you. Udoka swallowed hard. The one who was made for me. Yes, the old woman nodded. There is only one woman in this world who can take you as you are. She is the key to unlocking your true destiny. Udoka's hand clenched. His entire life, he had believed he was doomed to suffer alone, but now this strange woman was telling him otherwise. Who is she? He asked urgently. Where can I find her? The old woman's eyes gleamed. Her name is Mmasinachi. Udoka whispered the name to himself. It felt powerful. It felt right. But where is she? He asked again. The old woman chuckled. You will not find her. She will find you. When the time is right, she will come. Udoka wanted to press for more details, but before he could speak, the old woman stood up and walked away, disappearing into the darkness as suddenly as she had appeared. Udoka was left sitting there, confused, restless, but strangely hopeful. For the first time in years, he felt a flicker of hope. Somewhere in the world, there was a woman meant for him. And fate would bring her to him. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Udoka went about his daily life, but his mind never forgot the name, Mmasinachi. Each time he saw a woman in the village, his heart would race, wondering if she was the one. But time and time again, he was left disappointed. No woman carried the presence he had hoped for. His mother grew worried. Udoka, why are you looking troubled? She asked one morning as they pounded yam together. Udoka first smiled. Nothing, Mama. Just thinking. His mother studied his face for a moment and sighed. A man your age should be married by now. Women admire you, yet you remain alone. Are you still keeping secrets from me? Udoka's heart clenched. He had never told anyone about his problem, not even his mother. How could he? It was a shame he carried alone. Before he could respond, the sound of a drug echoed from the village square. It was the arrival of traders from a neighboring village. The market would be full of strangers, people from distant lands coming to sell goods and entertain with music and dance. Udoka decided to go. He needed a distraction. The market was alive with activity. The scent of roasted meat and fresh palm wine filled the air. Children ran between stalls, women battered over prices, and drummers played rhythmic beats that made the atmosphere vibrate. Udoka walked through the crowd, exchanging greets, but his heart was not in it. His mind was elsewhere. And then, he saw her. She stood near a stall selling beads, her fingers tracing the colorful ornaments. But it wasn't the beads that held Udoka's attention, it was her. She had the kind of beauty that didn't shout but instead drew you in like a whisper. Her skin was smooth, the color of honey kissed by the sun. Her eyes held a quiet depth, and her lips curved into a soft, knowing smile. She moved with grace, like the wind flowing through the trees. Udoka's heart pounded. He didn't need anyone to tell him. This was her. He approached slowly, his body moving before his mind could even process what he was doing. When he stopped beside her, she turned to him, and for a moment, the world around them faded. You are Udoka, she said softly, as if she had known him all her life. Udoka swallowed. And you are Mmasinachi. She nodded. There was no surprise in her expression, only certainty. I have been searching for you. Udoka exhaled. The old woman had been right. She found him. They sat under a larger Udoka tree, away from the noise of the market. Words flowed between them effortlessly, as if they had known each other in another life. I have seen you in my dreams, Mmasinachi admitted. I didn't know your face, but I knew your spirit. I knew I belonged to you. Udoka shivered. He had never felt this before, this deep, undeniable connection with anyone. But fear crept into his heart. Should he tell her? Should he confess his curse before she, too, became another woman who would run from him? He hesitated, but before he could speak, Mmasinachi placed a gentle hand on his. I know, she whispered. Udoka froze. You, none. She nodded. Your burden. Your fear. The pain of being unable to love freely. Udoka's breath caught in his throat. How? She smiled. Her eyes warm with something deeper than understanding. Because I was made for you. And you, for me. The word sent shivers down Udoka's spine. Could this really be true? Could this woman truly be the one? Would she be the to finally take all of him without fear? Udoka had never felt this way before. Sitting across from Mmasinachi under the Udoka tree, he realized something: she was different. Every woman he had ever been with had eventually turned away from him. But Mmasinachi, she knew. She knew his struggle, his pain, and yet she did not flinch. Still, a part of him could not fully believe. What if she was wrong? What if she, too, would be unable to take him? What if this was just another cruel twist of fate? Mmasinachi reached out and took his hand. Her touch sent warmth through his body. Udoka, she said softly, I know you are afraid. But trust me. Her words settled deep within him, calming the storm that had raged inside him for years. I want to believe you, Udoka admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. She smiled. Believe me. That night was thick with silence. The moon cast a silver glow over the village, and the wind carried the distant sound of drums for a celebration happening nearby. Udoka and Mmasinachi were alone in his hut, their bodies illuminated by the flickering flames of an oil lamp. Udoka's heart pounded. He had never been this nervous before. This was the moment he had both feared and longed for. Mmasinachi stood before him, her eyes never leaving his. She stepped closer, reaching up to touch his face, tracing his jaw with her fingers. You don't need to be afraid, she whispered. Udoka swallowed hard. What if? She silenced him with a kiss. It was not rushed. It was not desperate. It was slow, deep, and filled with something Udoka had never truly felt before: the acceptance. Mmasinachi undressed before him, and Udoka marveled at her beauty. She was not just a mourner, she was his woman. As they lay together, Udoka hesitated. Mmasinachi, I don't want to hurt you. She smiled, eyes full of trust. You won't. He had heard those words before, but this time, they felt different. Slowly, Carefully, he moved closer. And then it happened. There was no pain. No screams. No resistance. For the first time in his life, Udoka was inside a woman. Fully. Completely. Mmasinachi held onto him, her body welcoming him in a way that had been possible with any other woman. She could take him. She was meant to take him. Udoka gasped, overwhelmed with emotions. The curse was broken. Or perhaps, it had never been a curse. Perhaps he had simply been waiting for her. The morning sun streamed through the windows, casting a golden glow over Udo and Mmasinachi as they lay together. For the first time in years, Udoka felt free. He turned to Mmasinachi, brushing a stray curl from her face. "You are truly mine." She smiled sleepily. "I have always been yours." Udoka kissed her forehead, gratitude filling his heart. "Stay with me. Be my wife." Mmasinachi chuckled softly. "I was never going to leave." And so, Udoka and Mmasinachi became one, not just in body, but in spirit. Udoka was no longer a man burdened by a curse. He was a man who had found the only woman meant for him. And with her, he would know love, passion, and fulfillment for the rest of his days. This story carries deep and meaningful lessons about destiny, patience, self-acceptance, and the power of true love. Ultimately, it teaches that 1. Everyone has their perfect match. 2. What seems like a curse might be a blessing in disguise. 3. Patience and faith bring the right person at the right time. 4. True love is about acceptance. 5. Some things are beyond human control, only destiny can decide. 6. When the right person comes, struggles turn into joy. Conclusion: the power of divine connection. This story ultimately teaches that love is beyond physical attraction, it is spiritual, destined, and unbreakable. When two souls are meant to be together, nothing can keep them apart. No obstacle, no struggle, no delay, only fate deciding the perfect moment. Please kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel, like, comment your thoughts on destiny and true love in the comment section, and please share this video to your loved ones. Thank you.